on BenAkiva Studios. My name is Bobbie Shrivastav, co-founder, chief product officer of BenAkiva. And Nick has shared that he's going to be running a little bit late. So it might just be, you might just get the full BenAkiva experience today.
I think everybody just watches us anyway. I mean, Nick's just there for good look, you know.
We're the pretty ones, right? So, Brent, do you want to share a happy story?
Yes. So the BenAkiva team has been working on this program where, prior to this, let me caveat this. When we built BenAkiva, we wanted to make sure that this platform could be utilized by all size carriers. So we've now proven that we can work with, mid-size and even the largest carriers in the world. But we started to work on this program where we could offer the BenAkiva platform in a way to smaller carriers to get them more digitized claims and customer service processes utilizing the BenAkiva platform, knowing that they're a lot smaller, so a lot less transactions. And the struggle with a software as a service company is, if the transactions aren't big enough or the volume isn't there, it's very hard to price a platform. So we kind of, the BenAkiva team put our heads together and said, look, we've already made the investment in the platform, right? So these smaller companies, we just took the stance of, some income from these smaller companies is better than not serving them at all and getting no income. So we decided to come up with a smaller carrier program that allows us to market to smaller carriers and really fulfill that promise that, when we built BenAkiva, we wanted to be able to work with small, medium, and the largest carriers. So I'm happy to report that we landed our first smaller carrier, and we will start work on them this year. So happy to report that now we've actually proven that hypothesis that BenAkiva can literally be in any size carrier. So that made me pretty happy because, we put a lot of work into that because, if you look at it strictly by the numbers, there's a lot of vendors that wouldn't even bother, right?
Yep.
But then that doesn't fulfill the mission, right? The mission is to give this beneficiary first experience to everyone. Well, smaller carriers have clients too, and they deserve that beneficiary first mindset as well. So I was happy that we kind of put our heads together and came up with a win-win scenario to be able to offer the platform to those smaller carriers. So that was a pretty big win. Made me real happy this week because it truly proved that we stayed true to that mission, right?
Yeah. I come from a tech background. I've worked with vendors in the past, and one thing I think we shared when the founding team was sitting, I think there was one statement I said, I don't ever want to be like that vendor company that just like nickels and dimes and squeezes money. It's just, I think like as human beings, I can't go to sleep at night if I know I don't want to be that vendor. And I know like some vendors that may be listening to this and saying, you guys are crazy. I actually don't think it's crazy. I feel like, I think we're doing the right thing. And, like we've coined some of the word phrases like anywhere, anytime, any device, crawl, walk, run. I think crawl, walk, run was taken, but, we kind of brought it back, made it more hip again in the life space. But I feel like another phrase we should coin is digital transformation, or better yet, claims and customer servicing transformation for all.
Yeah.
Like we don't discriminate. We love working with bigger customers, smaller customers. It's just the way we approach it.
Yeah.
And some of the bigger customers, like they need more, right? So we put in more effort. Smaller customers, you can still take the benefit of our technology. It's kind of like for everyone.
Yeah. So that was my happy story.
That was my, well, part of my, well, I'm glad you shared it because that always makes me happy as a founder is um, we're very mission focused. And a quick story before I get into my happy story is I had one of my new employees share with me how different we are. And that's, it made me, well, that's part of my happy stories. He's very happy to be working with BenAkiva because he knows that we walk the walk
Yeah.
and we walk the talk, whatever that phrase is. I'm very bad at phrases. Um, but he knows like as a founding team, we're very mission focused and we are, you know, like you shared the story yesterday at LIC conference.
Yeah.
I would love, if you don't mind, before we get into my happy story, every time you share this story, it like really I cry. I think I've heard it like 100 times. I think this audience needs to hear that story as to why you were at a cusp of almost leaving advisory because I think based on what you said is you've got to stick it out for 3 years and in 3 years you won't make that much money. But there was a turning point that allowed you to stay and then allowed you to like really think about what BenAkiva is. I
Yeah.
would love for this group to hear this. This will make you guys happy, guys.
Well, it depends. It made the facilitator cry, but true story. They say, prior to BenAkiva, I was a investment or a financial advisor and built a very substantial practice. And they say in the advisor world that the first 3 to 5 years are the toughest, and they say that you'll be underpaid for the first 3 to 5 years of building your practice, but once you do that and once you break through that threshold, you'll be overpaid for the rest of your career. And it is a very true statement. It is very difficult to build a practice from one client and then go from 1 to 2 to 3 and build a practice. So I was at year 3, and early on, one of my initial sales that I made was a term policy. I sold a $1 million term policy to a gal named Judy, and at the time it was a very small commission. It didn't make me a lot of money, but it fulfilled the need that she had. And for me, it was about I just need to see if I can sell these products and services, and so did that. Fast forward 3 years, kind of at that fork in the road of making a decision. Well, do I just give this up and go back to work? Go back to that salary position and go back to that 9 to 5 grind, or do I really continue to press forward and know that there's light at the end of the tunnel? Because in that 3 years, I'd had some successes. I built a small practice, but nothing that would make me fulfilled both mentally and financially, quite honest. But I was at that 3 year mark and really contemplating on whether, which fork in the road I was going to take. And I got a phone call, and it was literally 3 years to the day that I sold Judy her term policy. And I sold her a $1 million term policy. And at the time, this policy had what they call a terminal illness rider, where you get a certain portion of the benefit up front the upon you being diagnosed as being terminal. So basically, you've been diagnosed that you're going to die. And at the time, it was a 60% benefit. Now, obviously, newer products on the market, that benefits, creeped up and is a lot higher percentage now. But at the time, I get this phone call. She shares that she had been diagnosed with cancer. And, immediately I was like, wow, I mean, I can't believe this, because she got a great rate with us. I think she was either preferred or even super preferred. So it just hit me as, no, that can't be right. And but anyway, of course, my advisor hat kicked in, and I said, well, we put that policy in place. Fortunately for you, Judy, it's got this accelerated death benefit. Let's go ahead and enact that rider, and let's get you 60% of that $1 million today. And so we went through that process. She collects $600,000. The other $400,000 stays in force for your beneficiary upon the triggering event of death in this case. And what was interesting is she decided to do some research and she found this cancer rehabilitation center. I believe it was down in Texas, but there was two things wrong. One, it wasn't covered by insurance, right? So, and two, it was very expensive. So the thought process was, yeah, you could go through this cancer rehabilitation center and have a higher probability of beating cancer, but you can't run it under insurance and you need the money to pay for it. She's got $600,000 now. So she uses a portion of that money and goes through this cancer rehabilitation center. And I'm here to tell you, and I shared this yesterday, knock on wood, Judy is still alive. She's still with us. She still has that other 400,000 still in force. And, I spoke to her a little over a month ago. She's still here. And so this story, the reason we shared this story was we were talking about customer experience and why. Why do you sell what you sell? And, when I taught at different colleges, I used to always teach in sales, don't sell your product and service, sell your why. Once people connect with your why you're selling that product and service, they'll buy whatever you have to offer. Sell your why. And to me, at that point in my career, it was like a light bulb went off. This is why I'm selling these products and services. This is why I am doing this. And then, fast forward, I made a wonderful career out of that. But had that not triggering event occurred, who knows? I mean, I don't know if I would have even stayed in the business. I don't know if I would have stayed in the industry. I don't know if I would have been as passionate to share that people need these products and services that these insurance carriers offer. And when you can share personal stories, personal wins, it really elevates the need and the necessity for these types of products. So fast forward to today, BenAkiva, the reason we put this team together and built BenAkiva was because of some of the experiences that we went through as part of the financial advisory practice. And we decided that there's got to be a better way. And guess what? If there isn't a better way, my gosh, we're going to build a better way. And that's what we did.
And, and for the audience that's listening, I don't come from financial advisory role. So these experiences for BenAkiva is Brent's experiences. But and I'm being very honest, is Soman, who's a founder, comes from IT, I come from IT. But what resonated with us is the fact that I bought a life insurance policy a year ago before I met Brent, because I had a daughter. When we met in 2016, she was, how old was Savannah? Like 16 months.
Yeah.
And when Brent shared the story about some of the experiences, first of all was no way. Then you find out, yes way. I just bought a life insurance policy. So you're telling me that my beneficiary, who's my daughter, will have to go through that pain? A hell no came into my mind. We literally were working on another startup and we had to put that one aside and said, Brent, we're all in. We're solving this with you. Yeah. And ever since then,
jobs.
Do what?
You guys quit full-time jobs
in corporate. And it's okay. There's some of the entrepreneurship side. There were some dark angles, like we quit our jobs. We didn't have money for a while. But I think it's what makes entrepreneur. It's never like it's the phrase you say. If everybody wanted to become an entrepreneur, then everybody would.
Everybody would do it. That's what
if it was easy, everybody would do it. But it's hard, right? Like I can share stories with you for a 8-month dark period of my life, but it's okay. It's who makes us who we are. Yep. But it's the mission. It's how you share that was like, oh my God, and I feel like that's how we built BenAkiva. We built BenAkiva for that intent, right? And every day, every Friday, I get so excited because we talk about happy stories. And the last few years since I've been on BenAkiva, I'm happy because I know I wake up every day and I'm changing somebody's life with
Absolutely.
technology.
Absolutely. There is no
So
there's no
there's
doubt.
no so after that story, I don't have any more. No, I'm just kidding. I do want to say a gratitude story. In my yesterday was I lift a lot of weights, and I just found a weight that I was weak at, which is overhead squats. I haven't done it in years,
Oh,
but I did crank out 50 reps at 35 pounds, which was not my typical weight. But I am grateful for my fitness group that's on Twitter, because I felt like, okay, ground zero, guys. I did it, but I did, ground zero. I need to get better, baby steps. And everybody was super encouraging and saying, you did that? Like, it motivated me to be like, okay, I think I was good. I was doing okay. I'm not, don't beat myself up.
yeah.
And this group, I'm super grateful to the group, Kate, Terry, Nigel, Sharon, Patrick, Ben. They've all like contributed, and it's encouraging. It's encouraging. So
It's funny you mentioned that because as I've shared in previous Happy Friday stories, I've started working out uh, with a buddy of mine who used to be a top wrestler, and he's got these workout programs that we do, and they're hard. I'm telling you, they're hard. There's days where not the next day, but the following day. We do leg day. 2 days later, I can hardly walk. I mean, it's workouts. And it was interesting because we were in the gym, and he says one day he's like, man, I'm just not putting it out. I'm just not as good as I usually am. And I literally paused him and I said, hold on a minute. I said, it's 5:42 in the morning and we are at this gym pumping this workout out. Don't beat yourself up, because how many people aren't at the gym? How many people aren't doing those exercises? Even if it is 35 pounds, how many people aren't doing 35 pounds, right? So you just got to have that mentality of, I equate it to a staircase, right? You don't get to the top of the staircase. You don't just jump to the top, right? You got to take a step, then another step, then another step, and eventually you'll be at the top.
that's exactly what Kate, Terry, love her, shared.
Yep.
A similar experience with a different move, and it's we've got to encourage each other, and we recognize that only way to overcome weakness is to do what you're saying, step at a time, step at a
That's
time.
right. That's right.
One of these days, I'm back to my overhead squat weight. Baby steps, baby steps.
Yep.
Well, Nick, we missed you, buddy, at our Happy Fridays, but I'm glad that we kind of deviated and shared more, because I heard that story for the 100th time, and I still was like, oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
It makes you remember, like, why, right? Like 4 years ago, why, like, what are some of it was like, oh yeah, that's,
I literally had the presenter send me a personal email, and he said, I don't even know what to say about that. And he says, you definitely prove the point of why you do something. And yeah, it's, even today with BenAkiva, I mean, we've got stories of why we built BenAkiva.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, with that, we'll wrap up. Happy Friday. And until next time, we may do one after Thanksgiving next week. Never know.
Yeah.
With COVID, we'll be around. So not going anywhere. Well, happy Friday.